The world has a habit of forgetting people the moment they step out of the spotlight. One day, a face is everywhere, on magazine covers, on television screens, in every conversation, and then life intervenes, and slowly, quietly, that face fades from view. Most people accept this as simply the way fame works. Susan Boyle never quite accepted it. And right now, in 2026, she is back in the news in the most wonderful way imaginable. She is making music again. After everything she has been through, and she has been through a great deal, Susan Boyle is back in the recording studio. Back on red carpets, back on social media, and back in the hearts of millions of people who never stopped believing. In her dot, to understand why her return matters so much, you have to go back to where it all began. On April 11, 2009, a shy, unassuming woman from the small Scottish village of Blackburn walked onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent. She was 47 years old. She had never been married. She lived alone with her cat. She had spent most of her adult life caring for her elderly mother, setting her own dreams quietly aside while the years passed. When she told the judges she wanted to be a professional singer, the audience laughed. Not unkindly, exactly, but dismissively, the kind of laughter that assumes it already knows the ending of the story. Then she opened her mouth and sang the first notes of I Dreamed a Dream from the musical Les Miserables, and everything changed in an instant. The laughter stopped, jaws dropped, eyes filled with tears. By the end of those few minutes, the world had a new hero. And Susan Boyle would never be the same again. The video of that audition spread across the internet with a speed that even in the already fast-moving world of 2009 felt extraordinary. Within days, she had been watched by tens of millions of people around the globe. She finished as a runner-up on the show, but in the hearts of the public, she had already won something far more meaningful than any competition. Her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, released later that year, became one of the fastest-selling debut albums in British chart history. She followed it with a string of successful records, sold-out concerts, television appearances, and a life that had transformed entirely from the quiet, overlooked existence she had known for so long. But fame of that intensity carries its own particular weight, and Susan Boyle has never been someone built for the relentless machinery of celebrity. She has spoken openly about her diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, which she received in 2013, a condition that explained many of the social and emotional difficulties she had quietly navigated her entire life without knowing why. She also lives with depression, mood swings, and was later diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which required significant changes to her diet and lifestyle. The entertainment industry is not always kind or patient with people who need extra time, extra care, extra understanding, and there were periods when the pressure of it all became overwhelming. Watching someone so genuine and unguarded navigate a world that can be so artificial and demanding was, at times, genuinely difficult to witness. Then in April 2022, something far more serious happened. Susan Boyle suffered a stroke. She did not speak about it publicly for over a year. When she finally revealed what had happened, in a deeply emotional moment during the Britain's Got Talent finale in June 2023, she said she had fought like crazy to get back on stage. The audience gave her a standing ovation. The nation let out a collective breath it had not quite realized it was holding. She sang, I Dreamed a Dream again that night, joined by the West End cast of Les Miserables. And if anything, the voice sounded even more meaningful for everything it had survived to still be there after that appearance. She went quiet again. 2 years passed. Her social media accounts fell silent. Fans wondered and worried. And then, on April 1st, 2025, her 64th birthday, she returned to Instagram with a video message. She told her followers she was back, that she had missed them, that she was more determined and more excited than ever, and that there were new projects in the works. It was not an April Fool's Day joke. It was a genuine, heartfelt comeback announcement, and the response from fans around the world was immediate and overwhelming. What followed throughout 2025 was a slow and joyful rebuilding of a public presence. She dyed her hair a chic blonde bob. She walked red carpets. She attended Wimbledon in a beautiful white dress, sitting courtside and looking radiant. She appeared at the Pride of Britain Awards, an event that honors courage and resilience. And if anyone in that room understood what those words mean from the inside, it was Susan Boyle. And then in May 2025 came the news that brought people to tears all over again. She returned to the recording studio for the first time in 6 years. She wrote about it online with characteristic honesty, describing the day as wonderful, emotional, and everything in between. She said she had been told she might never achieve this again. But there she was. She wrote simply and beautifully. In her happy place, by November 2025, she was back in the studio a second time, and then a third, sharing glimpses with her followers and promising that new music was on its way in 2026. She is also scheduled to perform at the Summer's End Angus Festival in Scotland in August 2026, appearing alongside the Red Hot Chili Peppers, on a lineup that nobody could have predicted and that somehow feels absolutely perfect. The girl from a small Scottish village who spent decades being overlooked, sharing a stage with one of the biggest rock bands on the planet. Susan Boyle is back in the news because she refused to disappear. She refused to let a stroke define the final chapter of her story. She refused to let age, illness, loneliness, or the cruelty of a world that too often overlooks people like her be the last word. She went back to the studio she had